Ladies and gentlemen, every day you wake up with a choice to take a step forward or to stay where you are. Greatness doesn't come from inspiration alone, it comes from what you do when no one is watching. The small daily decisions you make shape the person you become. It's easy to start something. The real challenge is showing up again and again, even when the excitement fades, even when no one is cheering you on. You can't wait for motivation. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline, that's what carries you through when the thrill is gone. There will be days when you don't feel like it, when doubt creeps in, when the results seem too far away. But remember this, the people you admire, the ones who have built something meaningful, didn't rely on feelings. They relied on habits. They showed up when they were tired, when they were uninspired, when they were frustrated. And because they showed up, they won. Adversity is not a sign to stop. It's a test of how badly you want it. The question isn't whether you will face challenges. The question is whether you will push through them. Because consistency, more than talent or luck, determines success. And here's a truth many overlook. The most important promises are the ones you make to yourself. If you say you'll do something, do it. Not for applause, not for validation, but because honoring your word builds the kind of person who cannot be broken. Success leaves clues. It is built on discipline, resilience, and relentless effort. If you want a great life, a strong mind, a powerful legacy, you must do the work daily without excuse. Force yourself to be consistent, not because it's easy, but because the future you deserve depends on it. Our lives are shaped by the habits we form, whether we realize it or not. Everything from the way we wake up in the morning to how we spend our time at night is a result of habits we've cultivated over time. The truth is, we are what we repeatedly do. Success isn't a one-time event or an overnight miracle. It's the culmination of the actions you take every day. Habits are powerful because they are automatic. When something becomes a habit, it requires less conscious effort. This makes it easier to do the things you know you need to do, even when you don't feel like it. Imagine waking up early in the morning, hitting the gym, writing for an hour, working on your business. These things might seem difficult at first, but with time they become second nature. The decision doesn't need to be made every day because the habit takes over. But here's the thing about habits, they can work for or against you. If you're not intentional about them, they'll simply form on their own, often in ways that don't serve you. Bad habits can slip in without much notice, spending too much time on your phone, procrastinating on important tasks, or neglecting your physical and mental health. The power of habit doesn't care if the habits are good or bad, it just amplifies whatever you repeat over time. That's why it's so critical to take control of your habits. When you consciously choose habits that align with your goals, you lay the foundation for success. Start by thinking about the small, everyday actions that can push you closer to your dreams. You may not notice big changes right away, but over time, these habits compound and build momentum. The key is consistency. A tiny step taken every day moves you toward your destination. One of the most powerful aspects of habit is its ability to remove mental resistance. In the beginning, you may struggle with motivation. It's hard to find the energy or enthusiasm to keep going. But once you push through that initial discomfort and turn an action into a habit, it doesn't require the same level of energy to perform. You don't have to force yourself to think about it. It becomes almost effortless, freeing up your energy for other important areas of your life. The power of habit is what allows people to achieve extraordinary results over time. Whether it's in health, career, or personal growth, what you repeatedly do determines where you'll end up. Consistent action is what separates those who succeed from those who fall short. And the good news is you're not bound by your current habits. You have the power to change them. Start with small, manageable habits. Instead of setting an overwhelmed goal like I'm going to work out every day for 2 hours, begin with something more achievable like 15 minutes a day. Once you prove to yourself that you can stick to that, you'll naturally start building on it. The beauty of small wins is that they build your confidence and create a sense of progress that keeps you going. So take a moment to reflect on the habits you currently have. Are they serving you? Are they aligned with where you want to go? If not, take the reins. Create new habits that take you one step closer to the life you desire. Every single action you take today will eventually shape your tomorrow. The power of habit is the force that can make your dreams inevitable if you allow it to work in your favor. Remember, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our habits. And if we force ourselves to be consistent with those habits, no goal will ever be out of reach. There will be days when you wake up and you simply don't feel like doing the work. The energy isn't there, the motivation isn't flowing, and the task ahead of you feels overwhelming. You've been there, right? We all have. In fact, feeling unmotivated is a universal experience, but it's also one of the most common reasons people fail to reach their goals. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't often comes down to one key decision. Do you continue anyway, or do you quit? We often believe that motivation is the driving force behind success. We wait for that spark of inspiration to light a fire under us. But here's the hard truth. Motivation is fleeting. It's unreliable. It's like a wave, sometimes it crashes over you, but just as easily can disappear. So if you rely on motivation alone, you'll find yourself stuck in a cycle of starting and stopping, moving only when you feel like it. But success doesn't work that way. The key is to take action even when you don't feel like it. This is where discipline steps in. Discipline doesn't require motivation. It doesn't care how tired you are or how uninspired you feel. Discipline is about doing the work day in and day out, regardless of your emotional state. It's about making the decision to keep going when everything inside you tells you to stop. Think about it for a moment. How often do you feel like doing something when it's the hardest? How often do you feel like working out when you're exhausted, or tackling a difficult project when you'd rather relax? The answer most likely is rarely, but that's when the magic happens. It's when you push through those moments of resistance, when you do the thing anyway, that growth begins to occur. There is a profound truth in the act of showing up despite your feelings. Even if the work is imperfect, even if it's not your best effort, doing something is always better than doing nothing. Every small action you take, no matter how insignificant it seems, is a step forward. Every task completed, even on days when you're dragging your feet, brings you closer to your goal. There's also power in building the habit of pushing through discomfort. The more you practice showing up even when you don't feel like it, the easier it becomes to do it next time. It's not about waiting for motivation to strike, it's about creating a system where action is the default, not the exception. Think of it this way: how many times have you procrastinated on something because you didn't feel like doing it, only to feel worse later because it was left undone? Or worse yet, how many dreams have been delayed simply because the initial resistance was too strong to overcome? Now, imagine that every time you pushed past that feeling, you felt stronger. You built resilience. You created momentum. That's the power of showing up when you don't feel like it. Consider the athletes who train even when they're sore, the entrepreneurs who keep working after a long day, the writers who keep typing after hitting a wall. They don't succeed because they feel motivated all the time. They succeed because they do the work anyway. And with consistency, those small, uncomfortable actions add up. It's easy to start something when you're excited about it, but the real test comes when the initial enthusiasm fades. That's when consistency counts the most. Doing it even when you don't feel like it separates those who are simply dreamers from those who are doers. When you push through resistance, you demonstrate a level of commitment that others might not have. You show yourself that you are serious about your goals, that you are willing to sacrifice a little discomfort for something greater. It's also worth remembering that you don't have to feel perfect to take action. The truth is, The work will never be 100% effortless or perfectly aligned with your mood. Sometimes the best you can do is show up and give what you have, no matter how small. That's more than enough. It's the effort that counts, not the perfection. And while you may not always feel motivated, the act of doing will often reignite that motivation over time. As you see progress, as you tick off tasks, your energy will shift. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. You might find that once you start, the momentum carries you further than you thought. When you don't feel like it, remember, it's not about how you feel, it's about who you become by taking action anyway. You're building a stronger version of yourself, one decision at a time. Each time you push past the urge to quit, you're forging a character that can weather any storm, handle any setback, and achieve any goal. So next time you don't feel like it, recognize that the power is in the choice to act anyway. Every day you make the decision to keep going. Even when you don't feel like it, you're growing. You're setting yourself up for success. And eventually you'll look back and realize that those days when you kept going, despite how you felt, were the very days that made all the difference. We all want the easy road, the smooth path where obstacles seem few and far between. But life doesn't work like that. In fact, if you're serious about achieving anything meaningful, you can expect adversity to show up, often in ways you didn't anticipate. It's not a matter of if you'll face difficulty, it's a matter of when. The question isn't whether adversity will come, it's how you will respond when it does. Adversity is often viewed as something to avoid, something to fear, or something that signals failure. But here's the truth, adversity is not the enemy. It is a necessary part of growth. Challenges, setbacks, and obstacles are simply the process of life testing your resolve. They aren't there to stop you, they're there to shape you, to prepare you for the greater success that's waiting on the other side. Every single person who has ever achieved something great has encountered adversity along the way. And they didn't get to where they are because they avoided it. They got there because they embraced it, learned from it, and moved forward despite it. You don't grow when things are easy. You grow when you face something difficult, something that forces you to deeper and find strength you didn't even know you had. Adversity has a way of revealing your true character. When everything is going well, it's easy to be optimistic, to feel confident in your abilities. But when things start to crumble, that's when the real test begins. How do you react when a plan falls through? How do you respond when you've invested months or even years into something that seems to be falling apart? Do you quit, or do you double down and learn from the experience? It's in those moments when adversity shows up that you have an opportunity to define who you are. Will you rise or will you retreat? Those who rise are the ones who have learned to see adversity, not as a roadblock, but as a stepping stone. They've learned that difficult times don't define them. How they respond to those times defines them. Let's talk about failure for a moment. So many people fear failure because it feels like the end. But failure is not the end, it's an inevitable part of success. Failure teaches you lessons that you wouldn't learn otherwise. Each failure brings you closer to understanding what works and what doesn't. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about learning how to handle it, how to rise from it, and how to adjust your course based on what you've learned. The most successful people in the world have failed time and time again, but they didn't let those failures stop them. Instead, they allowed adversity to teach them how to be better, smarter, and more resilient. Think about a seed that's planted in the ground. It must push through the earth, break through the soil, and face the harshness of the weather in order to grow into a strong tree. It's the struggle that builds strength. If you were to dig up that seed and try to plant it somewhere where it didn't have to face adversity, it wouldn't develop its roots. It wouldn't grow to its full potential. Similarly, you can't become the person you need to be without going through difficult experiences. Adversity refines you. It forces you to adapt, to learn new skills, to find different ways of thinking and doing things. It pushes you out of your comfort zone and into a place where you have to innovate. Without adversity, you would remain stagnant, unaware of what you are truly capable of. It's also important to recognize that adversity is not something you face once and then move on from forever. Life will continually present new challenges, some small, some large. But with each challenge you overcome, you build resilience. You build a kind of mental and emotional muscle that allows you to handle even more. The next obstacle doesn't seem as daunting because you faced similar struggles before and come out on top. The more you face adversity head-on, the more capable you become at dealing with it. Adversity can also teach you the value of patience and perseverance. There are times when it seems like the breakthrough you've been working toward is just out of reach, but those who are patient, those who continue moving forward despite the lack of immediate results, are the ones who eventually succeed. Success isn't about quick wins, it's about endurance. It's about showing up every day even when the results aren't visible, and trusting that the effort will eventually pay off. Let's also acknowledge something crucial. Adversity often brings a change in perspective. It forces you to reevaluate what's truly important, to clarify your values, and to shed what's not necessary. When you face hardship, your priorities shift. You become more focused on what truly matters. The small things that once seemed important no longer hold the same weight. You become clearer, more determined, and more aligned with your true purpose. And don't forget that adversity connects us all. Every person you meet has faced some form of struggle, some form of hardship. We all experience challenges, and it's through adversity that we can relate to one another on a deeper level. It's through sharing our stories of overcoming obstacles that we find common ground, that we learn from one another, and that we support each other. You're not alone in your struggles. In fact, many of the most meaningful relationships and networks you'll build will be formed through shared experiences of overcoming adversity. So, when adversity shows up don't be afraid. Don't resist. Understand that it is a natural and necessary part of your journey. Embrace it as part of your growth process. See every setback, every failure, and every challenge as an opportunity to become stronger, smarter, and more capable. Understand that the adversity you face today is preparing you for the success of tomorrow. Adversity is not a sign that you should quit. It's the universe telling you that you are on the right path. Stay the course, trust the process, and know that every struggle you face is simply preparing you for the success you're destined to achieve. In life, we often hear about the importance of keeping our word to others. We are taught from a young age that trust, loyalty, and integrity in our relationships are essential, and that keeping promises is a sign of honor. But there is one relationship that often goes overlooked, the relationship we have with ourselves. How often do we think about the promises we make to ourselves, the commitments we make to our own dreams, health, or growth? The truth is, your word to yourself is just as important, if not more so, than the promises you make to others. In fact, the foundation of your success, happiness, and well-being is built upon the trust and commitment you have with yourself. When you say you're going to do something, whether it's working on a goal, sticking to a routine, or simply taking care of yourself, your ability to follow through is a reflection of how much you value yourself and your word. When you break a promise to yourself, it can have a subtle but profound impact on your self-esteem and self-worth. Each time you let yourself down, it chips away at your confidence. Over time, if you repeatedly fail to follow through, you may start to believe that you're incapable of achieving your goals, that you're not worthy of success, or that your dreams don't matter. This creates a cycle of self-doubt and frustration that can undermine your potential. But here's the key: keeping your word to yourself builds trust. Trust is the cornerstone of any strong relationship, including the one you have with yourself. When you consistently follow through on your commitments, you reinforce the belief that you can be relied upon. You create a sense of integrity within yourself, which allows you to take on bigger challenges with confidence, knowing that you have the strength to see things through. Think of your word to yourself as a contract. Every time you promise to take action, whether it's a small promise, like getting up early, or a larger promise, like launching a new business, you're entering into a contract with your own success. And just like any contract, it requires honesty and follow through. When you don't honor your commitments, you break that contract, and that leads to a sense of internal conflict. You may rationalize your lack of action with excuses, but deep down, you know you've let yourself down. On the other hand, every time you keep your word, you feel empowered. It boosts your self-worth and proves to you that you are capable of handling challenges. It strengthens your inner resolve and gives you the motivation to tackle even bigger goals. Each small victory of keeping your word, whether it's making it to the gym or finishing a project, becomes a building block in your foundation of self-trust. The words you speak to yourself also matter because they shape the way you see yourself in the world. Self-talk has a direct impact on your mindset. If you constantly tell yourself that you're not good enough, that you can't do something, or that success is out of reach, you begin to believe it. But if you speak words of encouragement, belief, and positivity, you start to change your internal narrative. You begin to see yourself as someone who is capable, strong, and deserving of success. Think about the difference between saying, I can't do this, versus I may not be able to do this yet, but I'm going to keep trying. The second statement is empowering. It acknowledges the challenge but frames it in a way that invites growth and learning. It opens up the possibility for improvement rather than cementing a fixed mindset. The more you speak words of possibility and perseverance, the more your actions will align with those beliefs. It's also important to understand that keeping your word to yourself means you take your promises seriously. If you say you're going to get up early and work on your goals, you don't backtrack and allow excuses to take over. You don't let distractions, fatigue, or momentary desires derail your commitment. Life is full of challenges, temptations, and interruptions, but if you're committed to your word, you learn to navigate these with discipline and focus. This is not about perfection, it's about consistency. One of the most powerful ways to reinforce your word to yourself is by creating small, achievable commitments that you can build upon. For instance, if you're trying to form a new habit, don't overwhelm yourself with unrealistic expectations. Start small. Commit to 10 minutes of exercise every day or writing 500 words a day. It's much easier to keep your word when your promises are manageable. Once you prove to yourself that you can stick to these smaller promises, you'll build the confidence and momentum to take on bigger commitments. It's important to note that self-compassion plays a significant role in this process. If you slip up, if you miss a day or make a mistake, don't berate yourself. Instead, acknowledge it, learn from it, and get back on track. Keeping your word to yourself doesn't mean being perfect, it means being persistent. The key is not to let one mistake derail your entire journey. Instead, forgive yourself, adjust your approach, and keep moving forward with the same commitment to your goals. As you begin to honor your word to yourself, you will notice something incredible happen. Your self-esteem will rise. When you prove to yourself that you can be trusted to follow through on your promises, you start to believe in your own power. This belief doesn't just come from success, it comes from the process of proving to yourself over and over again that you are reliable, consistent, and capable. In fact, your word to yourself has the power to shape your future. When you consistently keep your commitments, you create a track record of success. You begin to develop an internal belief system that says, I am someone who can achieve what I set out to do. This becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your confidence grows, your actions become more purposeful, and you build a life based on the integrity you've cultivated within yourself. In the end, your word to yourself is the foundation upon which everything else is built. If you honor your commitments, you create a life of integrity, self-trust, and personal power. And as you continue to keep your word, you will discover that you are more than capable of creating the life you've always dreamed of. So, next time you make a promise to yourself, treat it with the same seriousness as you would have promised to someone else, because in the end, You are the most important person to keep a promise to. Your word to yourself matters because it shapes who you become. And when you learn to honor it, you unlock a limitless potential within yourself that will guide you towards success, happiness, and fulfillment. In the world of personal growth and achievement, there is a profound and often overlooked truth: success leaves clues. This idea is rooted in the fact that success is rarely achieved by accident. Behind every accomplishment, whether it's in business, relationships, or personal development, there are certain patterns, behaviors, and principles that lead to that success. The people who have succeeded in any area of life have not done so in isolation or without a roadmap. They've followed clues, specific actions, strategies, and mindsets that others can replicate to reach similar heights. The key to understanding this concept is to recognize that success is not a mysterious or random occurrence. It doesn't happen by luck or chance, even though it may sometimes appear that way. Instead, successful individuals tend to follow certain consistent habits, principles, and strategies that enable them to rise above their circumstances and achieve their goals. The clues they leave behind are not hidden or reserved for an elite few. They're available to anyone who is willing to look for them and follow them. Success is about following the trail. Think of it like a treasure hunt. If you're trying to uncover success, you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Instead, you can look at the lives of those who have achieved what you want to achieve, and you'll find that they have laid down a series of clues that, if followed, can guide you to your destination. This concept applies across all areas of life. Whether you want to become a successful entrepreneur, an athlete, an artist, or a leader, you don't have to figure it out on your own. You can learn from those who have already walked the path. Success leaves clues in the form of their habits, choices, and attitudes. By analyzing what they've done, you can identify the key actions and strategies that have propelled them to where they are. The first thing to understand is that the clues left behind by successful individuals are not always overt or immediately obvious. Sometimes these clues are hidden within their routines, their choices, or even the way they handle adversity. Success isn't always about grand gestures or huge leaps forward. It's often about the small, consistent actions that compound over time. For instance, many successful people attribute their success to a strong morning routine. They wake up early, engage in exercise, practice meditation or mindfulness, read and plan their day in a focused and intentional manner. It's not always the most exciting part of their journey, but it's these small, daily practices that set the foundation for everything else. If you take a close look at their daily habits, you can see a consistent thread of self-discipline, structure, and focus. These clues are present in the details of their everyday lives. Another clue is the way successful people view failure. Rather than seeing failure as something to avoid or fear, they see it as a necessary step toward growth. They embrace setbacks as learning opportunities, using each one to refine their approach and get closer to their goals. This mindset is a crucial clue for anyone seeking success, understanding that failure is not an endpoint, but a part of the process. How many times have you seen someone give up after one failure while others push through and eventually succeed? The difference is often in how they perceive and handle setbacks. This principle applies to everything from building a business to developing a skill. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't start immediate results. But successful people know that consistency is key. They keep showing up even when it's difficult, even when they don't feel like it, and they trust the process. In fact, success often involves doing the same things over and over again until you become so good that success becomes inevitable. For example, athletes don't get to the top of their game by practicing their sport for a few hours once in a while. They train consistently day after day, pushing their limits and refining their skills. It's this relentless consistency that creates mastery and drives them towards success. If you can identify what successful people consistently do and replicate those actions, you'll be on the fast track to success. Another powerful clue to success is the role of mentors and role models. No one achieves greatness in isolation. Successful individuals are often the result of being mentored, guided, or inspired by others who have walked the path before them. They seek out advice, feedback, and insights from those who have already achieved what they are striving for. A mentor provides wisdom, guidance, and shortcuts to success. They help you navigate challenges, avoid pitfalls, and accelerate your growth. Successful people understand the importance of mentorship, and they actively seek it out. They don't try to figure everything out on their own. Instead, they learn from others, taking the best practices and strategies from those who have already succeeded. Look at the lives of successful people, and you'll find that many of them are students of mentorship. They seek out those who have already achieved what they want to achieve and learn from them. They take advantage of the knowledge and experience of others to shorten their own path to success. Another essential clue left behind by those who succeed is the sense of purpose and vision that drives them. Successful individuals are deeply connected to a higher sense of meaning in their work. They understand their why, the reason behind their goals, and they use this purpose to fuel their actions. This purpose keeps them motivated through difficult times and reminds them why they are working so hard. Without a clear sense of purpose, it's easy to get lost or distracted. But when you have a compelling vision for your life or business, you can stay focused and determined, even when the road gets tough. The successful people you admire all share this trait. They have a clear sense of why they do what they do, and that why propels them forward, no matter the obstacles. At the end of the day, success is not just about knowledge, it's about action. The clues left behind by successful people are not just in their words or ideas, but in the actions they take. They understand that information alone is not enough. It's how you apply that information that determines your success. So if you want to unlock success in your own life, start by identifying the clues. Study the habits, the mindsets, and the actions of those who have succeeded in the areas you want to excel in. Look for patterns, learn from their mistakes, and apply their strategies in your own journey. Success is not a secret, it's a series of clues that anyone can follow. The trail has already been blazed for you. Now it's up to you to walk the path. In every challenge, in every setback, in every victory, success leaves clues. Your job is to pay attention, learn from them, and take consistent action to create your own success story. We often hear the phrase, "What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?" It's a question that resonates with the desire to make a lasting impact on the world. Whether it's the legacy of a parent, a leader, or a creator, the idea of leaving something meaningful behind is a powerful motivation for many. But here's a truth that is often overlooked. Your legacy is not something that happens overnight. It is built piece by piece every single day. Legacy is not just about monumental moments or grand gestures. It's not about waiting for a specific event to define your life's impact. Instead, legacy is something you create with each thought, each decision, and each action you take. It's the culmination of small, seemingly insignificant choices that add up over time to form the legacy you leave for others and for yourself. The way you treat people, the way you show up in your work, the way you face challenges, all of these moments contribute to the story you will leave behind. The truth is, legacy is not just for the famous, the powerful, or the wealthy. Every one of us is leaving a legacy, whether we're aware of it or not. It's not just about the end of life, but how we live every single day. How do you want to be remembered? The answer to that question is shaped by the choices you make in your everyday life. Your actions today will be the foundation for the reputation and impact you have in the future. One of the most powerful aspects of building a legacy is the consistent effort you put into your values and goals over time. It's easy to think of legacy as something that happens later in life when you've arrived or accomplished something great. But the reality is, legacy is formed through the accumulation of small, everyday actions that reflect who you are and what you stand for. Think of it like planting seeds. You may not see immediate results from your actions, but over time, those seeds will grow into something significant. It's the small, everyday gestures that matter: the way you treat others, the work you put into your craft, the commitment you show to your own personal growth. It all adds up. Consider the example of a great leader. It's not the one big speech that people remember most, it's the way that leader consistently shows up for their team, encourages others, and exemplifies integrity. The legacy of that leader is built not in a single moment, but in their consistent actions over time. The way they interact with people, the way they lead with empathy and conviction, and the way they prioritize the needs of others. These day in, day out choices create a legacy that endures long after they are gone. For you, this means that legacy is about what you do every day to live in alignment with your values. Whether it's taking care of your health, spending quality time with loved ones, or showing up fully in your work, it's these consistent actions that will define your legacy. Each day is an opportunity to lay another brick in the foundation of what you want your life to represent. Building a lasting legacy requires living with intention and purpose. You can't simply go through the motions of life and expect a meaningful legacy to appear at the end. Legacy is about knowing what you stand for and making decisions that reflect your values. Every choice you make is an opportunity to strengthen or weaken your legacy. When you live with purpose, you are intentional in your actions. You don't leave things to chance. Instead, you consciously choose the path that aligns with your values and goals. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means that you are actively making choices that will lead you to the life you want to build, not just for yourself, but for the impact you want to have on others. If you want your legacy to be one of compassion, you must act with kindness every day. If you want your legacy to be one of hard work, you must dedicate yourself to excellence consistently. If you want your legacy to be one of creativity, you need to create regularly, even when inspiration feels scarce. It's the continuous pursuit of your purpose and values in both small and large ways that shapes the legacy you'll leave behind. Another powerful aspect of building your legacy is recognizing the ripple effect your actions have on others. Your daily actions influence not just your own life, but the lives of those around you. The way you treat others, the way you approach challenges, the way you show up in your relationships, all of these actions have a profound impact on the people in your life. And those people in turn will carry forward what they've learned from you. It's often said that no one is an island, and this is especially true when it comes to legacy. We don't live in a vacuum. Our actions create a ripple effect that spreads outward. When you show kindness to a stranger, encourage a friend, or lift up a colleague, you are contributing to a greater legacy of positivity, encouragement, and community. You may never know the full extent of how your actions affect others, but trust that your choices are leaving a lasting imprint on their lives. This ripple effect is especially powerful when you consider the way people are influenced by the example you set. Your children, your coworkers, your friends, they are all watching. And more often than not, people learn from what you do, not just what you say. When you live with integrity, they learn to do the same. When you act with humility, they see the value of humility. When you show resilience in the face of adversity, they learn how to persevere. Even when you think no one is paying attention, your daily actions are shaping the world around you. Over time, those small acts of kindness, those moments of honesty, and those efforts to make the world better will add up to a legacy that influences generations to come. One of the most important areas of legacy building is the relationships you cultivate throughout your life. At the end of your life, you may not be remembered for the material things you amassed or the titles you held, but for the connections you made and the people you loved. Legacy is about the relationships you build, the love you give, and the impact you have on the hearts of others. Think about the people who have left a lasting legacy in your own life. It's likely that the people you admire most are those who showed up for you when it mattered most, who loved you unconditionally, or who taught you important life lessons. They left a mark on your heart, and as you live your life, you have the opportunity to do the same for others. By prioritizing relationships, whether it's with family, friends, colleagues, or mentors, you are creating a network of connections that will carry your legacy forward. The time you spend nurturing these relationships, the care you take in being present for others, and the way you show up in your role as a friend, partner, or parent all contribute to the legacy you leave. It is in these relationships that the most profound and enduring aspects of your legacy will be found. Finally, it's important to recognize that your legacy is also something that you leave for yourself. It's the kind of person you become through the choices you make every day. Do you want to look back on your life with pride, knowing that you gave your best, loved deeply, and lived with purpose? Or do you want to look back with regret, wondering what could have been if you had acted differently? Building your legacy is not just about what others remember about you. It's also about the sense of fulfillment and pride you create in your own heart. The way you live today, the decisions you make, the actions you take will determine the kind of legacy you have when you reflect on your life in the years to come. The legacy you build today is the life you create for yourself in the future. Your legacy is built on the choices you make right now, today. It's not a distant future event that you wait for. It's something you create every day with your words, actions, and intention. Every decision you make is a brushstroke on the canvas of your legacy. The relationships you nurture, the values you live by, and the way you show up in the world today will create the lasting impact they leave behind. And it's this legacy, your daily actions and consistent commitment to your values, that will be the true measure of your success in life. So take this moment to ask yourself, what kind of legacy do I want to leave? And how can I begin building it, one small action at a time today? As we reach the end of this journey, one fundamental truth stands clear. Your legacy is not a distant event to be left for the future. It is a daily, ongoing process that begins right now. Every action you take, every choice you make, every moment you live is a thread that contributes to the larger tapestry of your life's impact. Your legacy is being written not in grand, singular moments, but in the small, consistent actions that you commit to every day. Building a meaningful legacy is a conscious, deliberate effort that requires you to show up fully, live with intention, and make choices that align with your values. It's about doing the work, even when it's hard, staying consistent, even when you don't see immediate results, and embracing the journey, knowing that each step brings you closer to the legacy you wish to leave behind. Understand this, you are always building your legacy whether you're aware of it or not. The kind of legacy you create is entirely up to you. It's shaped by the way you treat others, the actions you take, and the choices you make in your everyday life. Your legacy is not only for others, it's also the way you will look back on your life feeling pride in what you've contributed to the world. So, as you continue on your path, remember every day is an opportunity to build a legacy that lasts. The moments may feel small, but over time, those small actions add up to something far greater than you can imagine. What legacy do you want to leave? It's up to you to start creating it today through consistency, purpose, and the commitment to live fully in every moment. The legacy you leave behind is not something that happens at the end of your life. It is the sum of every choice you make, starting now. What will your legacy be? The answer lies in what you choose to do today.